Welcome to A Second Helping with Allison Bartow, a wedding photography podcast with a focus on second shooting. All right, welcome back. I am taking a look at my timeline for this week's wedding. So I am shooting with Megan. I have shot with Megan 3 times before, and the last time was in September. So I'm really looking forward to this. We are shooting at Historic Ashland. I have photographed there once before. I like shooting with Megan because I know what to expect with her. I got her timeline probably 2 weeks before the wedding, and it made me smile because she does a really nice job. She has a super clean timeline. It's nice. It's branded to her style. It has just enough details. So it's very clear, but it's not bogged down and cluttered up with way too much information. What I like is she includes things like at 1:30, robes photos. This is the time all hair and makeup should be completed. And then she'll also have 5 minutes after that. Everyone gets dressed except for the bride, with priority given to those helping her in her dress. So this is nice because it gives people an actual timeline of you should be done by this time, and then this is who gets dressed first. So it has a little bit of instruction in there as well. She always builds in a timeline into the timeline as well for the bride and groom to hide, rest, and retouch. So this has about 45 minutes where the bride can get her makeup touched up and they can just kind of catch their breath. And then we as the photographers are getting ceremony site photos. So she puts together a really good timeline. Megan prefers to do a first look, but she has 2 timelines, 2 versions of the timeline that she can work with. And she's really great about talking with her couples and kind of reviewing all of this. We are shooting from, this says photographers, lighting and equipment move in at 12 with a photographer end time at 8:30. She also has on here all of the important people. Day of coordinator, so we have a name and an email. She has the bridesmaids and the groomsmen. She has first and last names for them. We also have a best pup. So we have his name, the ring bearers and the flower girls. We have their first and last names, and she even breaks down like who their parents are, so what the relation is to the bride and groom, full names for all the parents. I am looking at our family formals. It currently has 15 on the shot list, and I don't want to jinx it, but it looks pretty straightforward and not a lot of people. We have lots of 2s and 3s. I see maybe 3 groupings that are like 6 or 7. There's one full group, which is bride and bridegroom, bride's parents, groom's parents, siblings, in-laws, nieces, and nephews. So that seems like one big photo, but that's it. So I feel like that'll be pretty manageable. And we have half an hour to do this, so that'll be good. And then larger groups during cocktail hour. She also breaks down, she's really good at this. She lists out the whole vendor team. So in addition to doing a great job with photography, as a business person, Megan does a really good job because she provides value to everyone who's involved with the wedding. So she shares this timeline with everybody, and she lists out all of the vendors, and she also has all of the Instagram handles and then any vendor email addresses that she has. And she has a link. Man, she's smart. I just saw this on here for the first time. It says, you might enjoy viewing their engagement session. So she includes a link for people to check out the bride and groom's engagement session. Their color palette is navy, sage, gold, maroon, and burgundy. We have contact phone numbers for the bride and groom. And something else she does, which is really smart, is she has a conversation ahead of time with the bride and groom on how they would like Megan to handle it when people come up to her during portraits and ask, oh, can you get a quick photo of my family? So I think she gives them 2 options. And most of the time, what people go with is the quote unquote typical response, which is, we don't quite have enough time right now, but I would love it if you could get everyone together during an in-between time during the reception, and then let me know when you're ready and I can take it then. So that kind of it's a very polite way to just say, we'll do it later, but it also puts some of the responsibility on the other person, like, get your group together, come find me, and then I'll take it. So I think it's really smart because then it prevents any uncomfortable moments during the portrait time, because as I've discussed, portrait time is just a lot of pressure. And a lot of times you're tight on time. The other thing that's great is she includes day of special details. So for this wedding, we have 3. 1, the bride has pieces of her mother's and grandmother's wedding dresses stitched into her dress. 2nd, she might have her great grandmother's lace wrapped around the bouquet, depending on if the florist can get it to work, which I know that feeling. I also found it stressful as a florist having that important piece of fabric because it was like, oh gosh, you can't lose it. They normally bring it to you like weeks ahead of time. So it's in some labeled bag in the office. So you don't want to lose it or misplace it or forget it because you have to do it kind of last because it gets all wet. So that's how that goes. And then the last detail, this will apply to me because Megan will be doing the bride prep and I will be doing groom prep. So the groom has a pin inside his jacket with his grandmother's picture. So I will make sure to get that when I'm doing groom prep photos. So Historic Ashland, I mentioned I shot there once before and it was last July. And what's interesting is the photographer that I worked with for that wedding shoots in a very documentary style. So my groom prep was just hanging out with a room full of guys. And that was kind of a big party. We had a lot of grooms and maybe there were relatives in there too, but just doing candids. So really no posed shots. Now, Megan's the opposite end of the spectrum. And I have an episode where I talk about the different styles of wedding photography. Megan is very much planned out and organized. She's great with portraits. I'm looking forward to watching her do her portraits because she's a master at posing. And it's one of those things where you go into it and you're like, all right, I have to listen to what she says because she's so good. And then you're watching her, you're paying attention, you're hearing things. And then when it's over, it's like the Jedi mind trick. You're like, how did she just do all of that? It's like, it's so smooth that you just become part of the moment. So 4th time's a charm. I'm really going to try to listen because she's just so good at this. But Megan is really great from a customer service standpoint and being true to her brand and her style, which she has identified, and she provides a really high level of customer service. So she is someone who she's smiling all the time. She has a great energy, just high level of energy. She's bubbly and there's never anything wrong. She never wants anyone saying, anything negative, not a bad word, which, I agree with. But it's not the case with everybody. A lot of times you get people that kind of grumble. And I talked about one wedding where it was kind of like the videographers, just kind of their like default mode was to kind of grumble about things, which you want to avoid. And especially as a second shooter, because you are representing somebody else's brand. So I love with Megan going into it because I know she likes a light and airy photograph. She is strong on portraits. She has very specific poses. She's very mindful of body types and making sure people are comfortable. And she typically has done an engagement session. So all of her little tips and tricks and kind of like, grab her by the chin and to like all of her little signature moves, if you will, they've already done them because they've done an engagement session together. So they go into it and they're already getting comfortable more quickly than a lot of people that are posing for the first time with their photographer on the actual wedding day. So I love watching Megan in action. And like I said, I know going into it as well that she is very customer service focused and very much concerned with the experience of the bride and groom's special day. So if something is going sideways, I know she would prefer that I set my camera down and step in to help with something to make sure that the bride and groom have good memories of the day. And it's all about the overall experience for her. That's what she's trying to deliver. Whereas, with other photographers, it's more like, let's document and tell the story of what happened during the day. So like I said, it's really important to know what those expectations are. So I'm looking forward to that. And then the other thing is Megan is the only photographer that I have shot for who only wants the second photographer to use one camera body. So I will obviously take 2 with me, but I'll probably check with her just to make sure nothing has changed. But it's also something I have to think about ahead of time because normally I have 2 bodies, so I can be shooting wide and tight at the same time. And I normally have 6 or 7 lenses with me. So I'm assuming I'm going to have my 70-200 on during the ceremony, but I need to also then, I'm thinking I might use my 24-70, try to be really intentional about using that more because it's right now the lens that I use the least. But I think maybe I'd want to use a zoom more when I'm dealing with only one body. So we'll see. And then typically Megan doesn't stay very long into the reception. So this has us with 4:30 ceremony. Guests are seated at 6, and it has us ending at 8:30. So that's going to be introductions, first dances, and then maybe a little bit of party dancing. But maybe not, because that might go right into dinner. So we'll see. In the past, Megan hasn't even had me set up my light stands. So we shall see. I will check in later. Hello. It is 8:15 on Saturday night. It is still light out, and I'm driving home from a wedding, which is wild. Great day. I'm so sweaty, but I think they're great photos. Little bit of a rocky start today. So I leave with plenty of time, and I'm driving, cruising along. I'm getting close to the venue. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to stop, grab like a fresh beverage, use the restroom, and because actually, no, I wasn't even close. I was like probably still half an hour out. But I was like, you know what, I should take this opportunity to use the restroom before I run out of places to possibly stop. So I still had at least 30 minutes because I think it was like 28 miles, maybe more. So I stop and I look down and my cup still has a bunch of coffee, iced coffee. And I'm like, you know what, I might as well just finish this so that it doesn't spill. I'm going to need the cup holder. So I drink the rest of this coffee, go in, come out, start driving, and I feel like it hadn't even been like 10 minutes and I got heartburn. It's the third time in my life that this has happened, but only the second time that it's been this bad that it feels like you're having like a heart attack. And so I fumble around in the back. I actually find the container of Tums that I bought when it had happened previously. Thank goodness it was in the bag that I put back in the car the other day. So I'm eating those like 2 at a time and I'm driving and I start to feel so terrible to the point where I had to pull over. And I'd never pull over. I'm never in so much pain that I pull over for anything. So I pull over, I start to get so hot and I'm like, maybe I just need to get out of the car and walk a little bit. I get out of the car and I'm like, I feel awful. I get back in the car. I don't know if I'm going to stand or sit or what's going on. I am just full body sweating. I did like the EKG on my Apple Watch just to make sure I wasn't having a heart attack, which I swear last time I thought I was having a heart attack too. Full body sweating. At one point I lean over and something falls out of my eye onto the console and I realize that my eyes have welled with tears. I'm taking like layers off, and so I'm afraid to drink anything that's in the car because I'm like, I can't have any caffeine. Who knows what flavoring, if it's acidic. I don't know exactly how heartburn works. But I had my huge thing of water, so I just started drinking water, and I kept telling myself that I was feeling better, and then Megan, that I was shooting for, texted in the middle of this to be like, oh, hey, like, you don't have to get there till noon or, you know, whatever. So I just like gave her a thumbs up, and I kind of had like a couple minutes of panic where I was like, the condition that I'm in right now, I can't shoot a wedding. I can't even drive a car. And I was like, it's going to pass because what am I going to do? How would I find someone else? Like, it would be terrible. So I just told myself it was going away. Tried to do some deep breathing. I closed my eyes. I tried to do a little bit of meditation. And I was still taking Tums like 2 at a time. And then I looked in the mirror and I was like, felt like I was like kind of gray and there was a little bit of like chalky Tums in the corner of my lip. And I was like, I look awful. And so then I had like a latte in my bag. I took that out. I put it like on the back of my neck. I think I put it down the front of my shirt. I put it on my wrists, and that did feel better. And so I got to the point where I was like, okay, I can keep driving. Because I was like, I'm still 28 miles from where I need to be. Like, I need to at least get closer. So I started driving, and then I was like, I feel like I've peaked. Like, I feel like this is going away. And so I had like 2 more Tums, and then I kept driving, and I was like, I don't want to drink like all the water that I have. So I made it, I don't know if I went like 15 more minutes, and I found another little gas station. So I went in, got some water, grabbed a couple of bananas because I think I saw that like bananas are good. So I made myself slowly eat the banana, and then Megan texted me again, and I was like, another thumbs up. And so I got to the venue like 20 some minutes early. I parked off in the corner to just like finish composing myself, drink a little bit more water, just try to like get myself together. And I did feel a lot better than I had. So I pulled up, I saw her car, so I parked near her, and then got my bags out, and I've been there before, so I was taking my light stand bag over to the, I think they call it the barn. There's a mansion, a cottage, and then like the big barn is where they have the receptions. And then she yelled, hey, she was on the porch where the girls are getting ready in the mansion. I was like, hey, and she said something, and I was like, what? And then she said something else about like 12. And I thought, I don't know what, I just thought that like, it was like, hey, like, yeah, we're all set. Like, so I go in, and there was the owner and like 2 other girls. So I said hi, and I just said, oh, I'm with Megan. I'm going to just put my bag over here. And they were fine, and they were talking about something else. And I even acknowledged, I was like, I'm a little bit early. And they were like, yeah, sure. And so then I went over to Megan, and she was like, oh, I was saying like, it's not yet 12, don't go in. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, and I said, I even kind of acknowledged it. I was early. Was that okay? And, you know, they were fine. And because I actually didn't know that the woman there that I was talking to was the owner, but, you know, I treat everyone the same. But I was like, oh, great, of all the people. And Megan's worried about me being too early, and it's the owner. But I think it was fine. So we got situated. We did some details in the mansion where the girls were, and I got some of the guys' stuff, and then I went down. The guys had gotten there early as well, and so I went down there, and I had like half an hour to get some detail shots until they were supposed to start getting dressed. The groom already had his shoes on, so I had to ask him to take his shoes off to get like some of those shots. They were all super nice. All the groomsmen, the dads were nice. The 2 young boys were very nice. I got the detail shots, several options of the pin, the in memoriam pin with the grandmother on it. And what I did was, I saw the guys were just hanging out, and I knew they had time until they could get dressed. So what I said was, if you guys want, you could start pinning on your boutonnieres onto your lapels so that you're ready for that when it's time to get dressed. And so they were like, oh, okay. Which I think was the smart move, because it always takes them so long. So if they get dressed and they want to be dressed and ready by a certain time, in this case, it was 1:30 they had to be dressed by. If they wait and hit that deadline, then they're pinning on their boutonnieres, and they realize that they don't know what they're doing. So they started on that, and then I was able to like get some candid shots, and Megan had figured out exactly where she wanted group shots. We had 2 locations for that. And so I took the groom, we were doing a couple of portraits, and pretty soon after I met him, we were talking, he was so nice. He said, you're so lucky you get to work with Megan. She's amazing. And I was like, she really is. I really enjoy working with her. And then he said, and I really appreciate how you're telling us what to do and giving us guidance. And I was like, oh, sure. And I hadn't even been with them that long, but because the space that they were in is the cottage, and Megan likes no flash. She likes natural light and airy. I had kind of positioned them so that they were in the natural light, so it looked good, so I wouldn't have to use the flash, but I didn't have to crank up the ISO. So, and I kind of just explained what I was doing, like, oh, hey, could you turn a little bit this way so that I can get just you in that nice natural light? So I'd given them that information. So he was saying he really appreciated that. And then he said, you know, Megan's really great. They had been in a wedding a couple weeks ago, and the photographer didn't give anybody any instructions. He's like, so we had no idea, like, what to do with our hands, how to stand, if we were doing okay. And I said, oh my goodness. I said, well, as you know, because you had your engagement session with Megan, she is the queen of posing. But I just thought it was really nice that he took the time to acknowledge that, like, he appreciated that. Because sometimes you feel like you could be giving someone, like, not too much guidance or instruction, but, like, you don't want to take someone, like, out of the mood, or, you know, like, just make it all about, like, the posing, but it was more like just positioning them in flattering light. So it was nice because I felt like he appreciated it. So it was like just enough, not too much. And then I told all the guys, when I got there, it didn't feel that hot, but then it did feel hot. The sun was kind of coming in and out. So at times it was full sun and hot, and then other times the clouds would roll in and there'd be a nice breeze, and it felt really great. But as I've mentioned, once I start shooting, I just get hot, and then I'm just like hot and sweaty for the rest of the day. And so it was like high 70s, and these guys are in like maybe undershirts. They've got dress shirts on, vests, ties, jackets. So they're in it. So I said, here's what we're going to do. So I just gave them the game plan. And then I also told them, so all day I'm going to be reminding you to get rid of sunglasses, cell phones, wallets, keys, gum, mints, whatever's in your pockets. So just a reminder. So I gave them that heads up. And they were all cool. They were really good. So we quickly got our group shots. And then we went over, we did more groom shots in front of the big barn where the I keep wanting to say ceremony when I mean reception, but like it was a really nice backdrop there that Megan had picked out. And then we came back, and I always try to just be mindful to get the guys back in the cooler spaces when we can, because I know that they appreciate that. And it's not their big day, so it's like I just don't want to like tire people out and just like not stress people out, but like I don't know, I just don't want to leave them out in the sun getting all sweaty and having like not the best memories of the day. So, because it's not, like people aren't super excited to be in like group bridal party pictures for a long period of time. So I just kind of let them know like, hey, we can move through these pretty quickly. And then I got them back inside, did some groom portraits outside. The groom was really, really nice. Megan figured out exactly where she wanted to do the first look. So we had a really good plan for that. They had their dog come. They had a dog handler. That was her whole job. And Brewer did really great. We had then the ceremony. The venue is beautiful. It is a longer walk down to get from the mansion where they do bride prep all the way down this really nice sidewalk. The place is very well maintained. The grounds are gorgeous, and you can just tell that they really take care of it, and everything had been like resurfaced, repaved, whatever, freshly sealed. So it looked good. And then we did the bride and groom portraits. I think those look fantastic. The bouquet was gorgeous, so beautiful. However, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh geez. It was it was like you could barely get two hands around it. So not the size of like a 2-liter, but like it was difficult to carry in just one hand. And my first thought was just like, oh gosh, she's going to be so tired of carrying these flowers around. So she did get a little bit tired. I mean, they were gorgeous and they're going to look beautiful in the photos. But like, I just know from having a flower shop that like it can get to be a bit much, just the weight of the bouquet. Her dress got dirty right away, which happens to everybody. So I wish more brides just understood that. She was really good about it. I think when she first saw it, she was like, ooh, but then we were like, it's going to be fine. And she was okay. Comments that people make. So it would be nice if people understood that making a comment when there's no solution doesn't get anybody anywhere. Like that one time when I noticed there was bird poop in the middle of the bridal bouquet. No one's really going to notice. The solution could end up being more difficult. You're not going to start cutting flowers out of someone's beautiful bridal bouquet. So I just didn't say anything. Some of the comments were, oh my God, your dress is so dirty. Like, we hadn't even had the ceremony yet. Like, no, it's not a helpful comment to make. And then, what was another one? Oh, questioning where Megan had positioned people, which just kills me because Megan she owns the Lancaster Photography School. She's the queen of natural light. She does light, bright, and airy better than anybody I know. And she, light quality. She has, bullet points for every type of light quality. And so the one bridesmaid goes, "Are you able to see our faces? Because like the sun's behind us." And Megan's like, "Oh," Megan handles everything so well. But it was just so funny because it was like, we've got like 14 people lined up and no one noticed that we had them facing the wrong direction. So it was like, no, it's fine. She's got this. So there was just a few comments where you're like, what? Overall, everybody was great. Everybody cooperated. There wasn't too much grumbling about the heat. Her dress was very pretty. There was like a little stitch that popped, and all of a sudden like her slit went like all the way up. So she just did a little quick fix before the ceremony, and it all went well. Ceremony was good. Brewer the dog was supposed to like do a release and run like down the aisle to them, and he made it like 3 rows and then did a hard right, but everyone loved him. He did fine. And then he hung out with one of the groomsmen up front. Ceremony was pretty quick. His brother was the officiant. He did a good job. Flowers at the ceremony site were gorgeous. And yeah, then we did all the portraits, and then family photos. Again, those weren't bad at all. The list looked decent, and it went by even faster because like 3 of them would be like groom and dad, groom and mom, groom, dad and mom. So it was like really fast to get through them. The one little flower girl was not having it. The flower girls were adorable. They were young, so it was just too much. They were over it, the one more so than the other, but still she was adorable. And that was it. I mean, cocktail hour, grip and grins were so easy because they were outside on the patio, so it was just natural light, so we didn't have to worry about the flash. I did confirm with Megan yesterday. I just kind of checked in to say I was all ready for everything, and then I confirmed like, hey, just want to make sure you still only want me shooting on one body. And she said yes. So shot with one body. I brought in all my lights, and then I was like, do you want me to set up light stands? And then she was like, you don't really need to. And I know that she normally doesn't want me to. So I was like, okay, that's fine. And I left. I said, I'll leave like my one little one in here in case something comes up and I need it. So then I just took the whole bag outside and put it in the car, so it just wasn't more clutter. And a couple reasons. It's not taking up more space there with like all the bags. Megan's like very cognizant of those types of things. And then also when I go to leave, which is like during reception dancing, I'm not dragging out like a huge bag in addition to my roller bag and everything else. So I just did that, and I took out a couple of flashes to have with me. And I ended up not shooting any off-camera flash. I just did on-camera a little bit of bounce flash for introductions and dancing. And we did find out right before introductions, they were like, oh, they're going to come in as a group. And we were like, okay. So we got ready. We were all in position. And then when the ladies came in, and they lined up like really close to where people were coming in. So it was almost like a tunnel. So we had to quick like reposition. And that happens. And it's just one of those things. I feel like introductions are just always such a wild card for some reason. So even when you think you have it, something happens and they're different. But the reception space at what time they were coming in, they got introduced at like 6:15. There were windows on 3 sides of the building, so there was a good amount of natural light. We were able to shoot at like a decent ISO and then have like a little bit of on-camera flash for Phil. And then there were parent dances, and then the dad gave a speech, and then everyone ate. Quick cake cutting, and that was it. So the bride and groom were super happy. This was funny. So at 1:30, I was supposed to take the groom out and start doing portraits. So I was like, okay, it's 1:30, we're going to go. So he goes, oh, at 1:30, I've got to go have this eye touched up. And I was like, what? And he goes, do you see under my eye? And we've been in the cottage where it was pretty dark. There's very little lighting in there. And I just thought he had like a little bit of dark circles under his eye. And the one, it kind of looked like he had a black eye. And my first thought was like, oh my God, did something happen at the rehearsal dinner? Because I don't know. I just, it looked like a black eye. And he said, she wants me to go and just have the makeup artist touch this up. But like, I don't know. Can you see it? Is it going to make a difference? So he was like trying not to do it. And I was like, well, I'm not sure. I said, and then I just said, though, if she asked you to do it, I would say, let's just do it so that you can say you did it. I said, if you sweat it off or it doesn't look right and you need to wipe it off, that's one thing, but at least let's do what she asked you to do. And so I took him over. Luckily, I saw Megan right away, and I just said, hey, the groom needs to come in. The bride wanted him to have under his eye touched up, so she was fine, because I was like, she has me doing portraits right now, and instead I'm bringing the groom into the bride prep space, and I was like, she's gonna think I've lost my mind. So and she was like, okay, cool. And then we made sure that the bride was closed away, because she was actually coming down to go to a different space for something, so we kept them separated. And then he sat down and he explained to the makeup artist that he normally has, I guess, like bags under his eyes. And so the bride put, and I think it was just under eye, like the patches that she got at Target, on his eyes, and he had like a reaction, and it turned like really dark, like purple. So he reacted to something. So the makeup artist just touched him up, and then we went back. But I was like, let's just do it, because if she can see it and then she finds out you didn't even try, I don't want you to get in trouble. And so I just said, not on my watch. And then he was sweet, and he was sweating, so we got him some napkins. And then just like once you start sweating, it's really hard to stop sweating, especially if you're still outside a lot. So I went and checked in my bag, and I had one of my like brand new white handkerchiefs still folded, and like not the one that I keep balled up in the side pocket. So I said, oh, you know what? I said, let me give you this. That way you have that instead of like a balled up floral napkin. So he had that then, and then there was like no lint and no color transfer onto his face or anything like that. So he appreciated that. But again, they were super nice the whole time, not high maintenance, and they just really appreciated everything. And all the guests and parents were really good. Yeah. So on my way home, I'm going to stop recording right now because it started raining, and I feel like that's a really annoying sound. So once I download the pictures and give them a look, I'll check back in to let you know how that went. All right, I am back. I have taken a look at the photos. For the numbers, I took 2,268 photos. So that was just about 284 photos an hour. It's a little bit higher than my average, but I think it's because we had all the formal groom portraits. I really wanted a lot of options for Megan. So I did like waist up, closer tight shot, and then like full body of everybody. And I shot a bunch of them. And I was also worried about anyone blinking because it was brighter out. They weren't facing into the sun, but it's just in general, when it's bright out like that and they're looking at, maybe they were facing the brighter building. So I shot a lot of the portraits for options. Even looking back at the pictures, I'm pretty happy with everything. There wasn't anything that I felt like I missed. I have some nice groom shots. Megan has repeatedly said how, being a mom of two boys, she knows that on the wedding day, a lot of focus is on the bride and the mother of the bride. And so she really likes to make an effort to make sure that the mother of the groom has the photos, with her in them too, and that she's not overlooked. So, I always remember that because I know that that's important for her. And also I have a son, so I can relate to that, even though he's 6. But I made sure to get some nice portraits of mom outside. So I was happy about that. Things that didn't go well. Obviously my, heartburn acid reflux attack on the way there was probably the low light of the day. That I'll end it with that. I think that was it. And then it was super, super hot, but what are you going to do? And it's only May. We're just heading into the summer season. So just got to get used to it. Other things I want to continue doing a little bit more of. I have a few behind the scenes shots. I know that Megan likes those. She likes to keep, like those shots refreshed. She likes a few from each wedding. So I have a few of those that I like that are just really nice candid moments of her and the groom. And then a couple later on. It gets hard when you're running around and everyone's sweating I didn't want to take too many because I'm like, I don't know if she's even going to want to use that. When you just feel kind of gross and sweaty, it's not normally the photo that you're looking for. But I want to make an effort moving forward to make sure that I'm getting some decent behind the scenes photos of whomever I'm working for. And what I realized that I should just be doing is at some point when I have the bride, the groom, and the primary photographer, just getting a group shot of them. Towards the end of the night, when we were running around, we were doing the cake cutting. I don't think I mentioned the knife that they gave on the bride and groom broke in half. And then when we went to pick it up, it broke again. So it was like broken into 3 pieces. But while we were doing that, Megan was like, oh, I want to get a picture of the 3 of us. And I was like, okay, great. And then we did the cake cutting and then they went to something else. And then Megan's like, you know what, you're all set to wrap up. And it wasn't until the drive home that I was like, oh my God, I didn't get that picture of Megan with the bride and groom. And I'm bummed about that. So I think I just need to make that more like a part of my day and just make that a habit. A big takeaway, I would say, or an area that blows me away rather, is that Megan shared her blog post on Facebook today. So the day after the wedding, which was yesterday, she shared a really nice portrait of the bride, groom, and their dog with a nice post on Instagram and Facebook. And then today, less than 48 hours after the couple said I do, she had a really nice heartfelt blog post that she then shared on Instagram and Facebook. And so it was a few photos, and you could click through to the link and go to the blog post with over 200 beautiful images from the day. And so I texted her and I was like, this is beautiful. Like, I know that she does this, but I hadn't shot with her in a while. And so it was nice to see it again and just be able to see all the photos that we worked so hard on and to see them all, edited and posted in less than 2 hours, and not like 15 or 25. There were over 200 and they were beautiful images. So, and I know that she had a photo shoot, like she had a session yesterday in New Jersey. So she was like out most of the day yesterday. So she posted that, and I know that her couple is going to love it, but it's also really smart because then, when we were texting, she shared something else with me, which she's always very generous about just sharing the way that she does stuff. And smart people are totally comfortable sharing what they do in business, because the truth is, even when people know what they do, most people can't replicate it. So she had shared with me, because I said it's so smart, then you're going to have people posting those photos on social media rather than like just their iPhone pics, because she shared it so soon after the wedding day. And then what she said is she also surprises them with a highlights gallery that has all of those photos plus more with the main family formals, speeches, and things like that, so that everyone who had a part in the day is represented and has something to share. So it's just such good business sense. It's nice from like a human perspective to share these photos right away and like make the time and make it a priority to edit them. But from a business person, it's also really from a business person's perspective. It's also really smart, because then all of the people that are in these photos that are going to have access to them are going to be sharing these instead of whatever they have handy. So that was really smart. And it's just so impressive because, like I said, it's less than 48 hours later and it's over 250 images. And that's not even all of them, because she's saying she has a highlight gallery with more that she shares with them. And she always does a really nice heartfelt post in the blog, and she's a really good writer, and she always has like just a nice sweet takeaway from the day that's meaningful. I've gone through the pictures that I took, and then I also went through the pictures that she shared on the blog, which I like to do because then I can kind of compare what she used of my photos in there and also a little bit of how she edited them, because I know that she likes a really clean, bright and airy look. So I like to look at that because I definitely kept that in mind while I was shooting. She's not going to want things that are underexposed with just like one bright spot in the picture. She likes a really bright, clean photo. So I kept that in mind, but then I like to compare that to what she selected. So all in all, it ended up being a great wedding. Like I said, I think I just have to make sure I focus a little bit on getting a few more good behind the scenes photos. And then with Megan, I know that customer service and the day and the experience is all about it for her. So, those times where I ran to get bottles of water, where I was, getting napkins for the groom and then giving him a handkerchief and, just helping the bride with a few things and all of that, like it just goes towards their memories and their experience and how they felt that day, more so than just me shooting additional photos for Megan. So I know it's so important when you're shooting for someone else to know what is important to them for their clients. So that was it. I will report in soon with something else. Thanks again for tuning in and listening, and I will talk to you soon.